you saw my last video. Till next time.
Oh my god!
I think you know what you're in for today. That's right. It's JoJo's Bizzare Adventure!
Probably regarded as one of the most popular anime shows out there today, this 30-year-old franchise is well known for being action-packed, strange, over-the-top, and full of meme fodder. For those of you who don't follow my blog, it's become something of an unspoken tradition to review each of the story arcs from the anime. I reviewed the series in this way because the franchise as a whole flows like an anthology, focusing on the descendants of the Joestar family and, well, the bizarre adventures and occurrences that each descendant goes through.
And today, I'll be talking about one of the most popular and most recognized, if not the most beloved of the JoJo storylines. So, with that being said, let's get started with today's review on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders.
The third installment in the JoJo franchise, Stardust Crusaders, follows Jotaro Kujo, grandson of Joseph Joestar and great-grandson of Jonathan Joestar. As the first episode starts out, Jotaro discovers that he possesses a power called a stand, a physical manifestation of the energy within a person's soul that can take on some pretty unique abilities. Jotaro's stand, Star Platinum for instance, has impeccable precision and accuracy, and also the ability to punch people while imitating sound effects from 80s rock music. And aging Joseph Joestar, who we all fondly remember from the Battle Tendency arc, comes to meet Jotaro and confirm the existence of his stand. Afterwards, Jotaro learns from Joseph about the Joestar family's worst enemy, Dio, a vampire and the original villain from the Phantom Blood story arc. Dio has apparently been revived and seeks to eliminate the Joestars and rule the world. It doesn't take long for this revival to take effect as Jotaro's mother falls in grave danger because of this. This sets Jotaro, Joseph, and a colorful cast of other stand users, including Avdol, a Middle Eastern fortune teller, Kakyoin, a Japanese high school student, and Jean-Pierre Polnareff, anime's equivalent to Indigo Montoya from The Princess Bride, off on a long quest to destroy Dio once and for all. It's epic, it's action-packed, and a lot of other things that I'll talk about in a minute.
What more can I say? It's JoJo! Well, I can say a lot about it actually. Some of it's good and some of it's bad.
Overall, I give JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, an 80.
Now, in getting to the analysis of my review here, I wanted to do something a little different as well as bring up a very underrated JoJo reference. Let's take a minute to read my soul and answer a few questions. Does JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, have a story that's full of depth and intrigue?
No.
And the characters, are they well-rounded, three-dimensional, and unique?
No.
And is Jotaro, the JoJo of Stardust Crusaders, dare I say, the best JoJo?
No!
Yeah, when you get down to it, this installment of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is just as bare bones as the previous arcs. There's no depth, there's no intrigue, and even the premise of the arc is pretty basic and outdated. After Jotaro's mother Holly, who, I forgot to mention, is Joseph's daughter, develops a stand that actually attacks her, everyone decides to go out and find Dio and kill him to save her. It's burly men save defenseless woman. Yeah, that's right, people. That's Stardust Crusaders in a nutshell.
Oh no! We have to go save the damsel in distress from the evil dragon! I mean monster! I mean zombie! Or, no, I mean vampire! I mean... You know, any monster would do.
On top of that, the characters themselves, particularly the protagonists, are about as basic as you can get, playing off all the character tropes we all see in every single shonen show out there. You have the lecher, the comic relief, the wise man, and the stubborn protagonist. Heck, they even go so far as to add an animal sidekick, too. We do get some backstory from our leads. In fact, one of them got an entire season dedicated to it. Go watch season 1, by the way. But it's more exposition than dimension. It's enough to give you information on the characters themselves and why they're on this crazy ride. But it's not explored thoroughly enough. Seriously, the only thing interesting about any of these characters is Jotaro's hat.
What's up with... What is it with the hat? I don't know. How does that obey the laws of physics? It doesn't obey the laws of physics. I don't know. Where does it start? Where does it end? Was he born that way? Jojo.
So, yeah. This arc is about as bare bones as you can get, with an overused storyline, cookie-cutter characters, and a missed opportunity in a protagonist.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Jotaro for a minute, because I don't think people talk about him a lot in the context of him as a character.
When you really look at Jotaro's character in the realm of Stardust Crusaders, he's not well developed. In fact, he's very underdeveloped. Not only does he play off the protagonist stereotypes, but he maintains this tough, cool guy attitude throughout the entire arc. While at times it's entertaining and kind of funny to watch him stay calm and cool under pressure, even in the most dire of circumstances, it makes him come off as very one note. The only emotion he ever seems to give off is anger. Or just complete distaste in anything. He's like Bella Swan, but more likable.
Now, in hearing this, you may think that I don't like Jotaro and don't think he's a good character at all, which none of that is true. I just think the anime had a really missed opportunity with him.
After watching Stardust Crusaders, I was ready to dismiss Jotaro as one of the most lackluster JoJos in the entire JoJo's Bizarre Adventure franchise, despite being the most recognizable. But then I saw a video by Flip Anime that did an in-depth analysis on Jotaro throughout the franchise itself, not just in Stardust Crusaders. As quoted from his video, the manga states that Jotaro does in fact care about his family and friends, but he tends to push them away as a means of protection. However, people often mistaken this as him being cold and heartless. This was actually kind of interesting and provides some insight to Jotaro. Looking back on the show, I actually do remember a few times where he displays this kind of behavior. And give Flip Anime some credit here, Jotaro is in fact a very different JoJo, right down to his very introduction. The first two JoJo incarnations we meet are introduced in chivalrous and heroic situations. But when we first meet Jotaro, he's in prison calling his mom a bitch and telling her to buzz off. It makes you think, this is our lead character?
Still, in regard to the first good point that was made here, wouldn't it have been nice to see that in the anime a little more?
While Jotaro's instinct to emotionally push people away was a great point that does in fact give some depth to him, it really doesn't change the fact that he's not that well developed in this particular arc because we don't see this enough. You could very well make the argument that there are moments when we see this. In fact, Flip Anime mentions that the same scene where we're introduced to Jotaro is a perfect example, as his refusal to leave his own prison cell is a means of protecting those around him because he fears that his stand may cause more harm, but they're rare. Though to be fair, you could blame this on the same reason why Akira and Watchmen will never have good and truly faithful adaptations. Details will get left out. And unfortunately, this detail about Jotaro's character gets left out. While it makes me look forward to seeing him in other iterations like Diamond is Unbreakable, as it currently stands, he's not all that intriguing in Stardust Crusaders outside of him saying good grief more times than Charlie Brown, and again, that weirdo hat of his. Seriously, what's up with that hat?
And honestly, the best JoJo in the franchise, in my opinion, is Joseph Joestar.
I have yet to hear anyone argue who's the best JoJo in the franchise, but for me, that goes to Joseph Joestar, and for two reasons. One, in Battle Tendency, we watch him grow from a scoundrel with no control over his God-given abilities to a battle-hardened warrior by the end of the season. This allows us to root for him and admire him so we can look forward to watching him take down bad guys as the series progresses. Secondly, he's the one character thus far in the anime who makes the most appearances. We get to see him in not one, not two, but 3 different JoJo story arcs. He plays the lead in Battle Tendency, later on in an important secondary protagonist in Stardust Crusaders, and finally a big and albeit gross and shameful part in the 4th installment. But I'll talk more about that one next year. It's this combination of longevity and growth that for me makes him the best JoJo in the entire franchise.
The best JoJo aside, for all that I've said thus far about this arc, there actually is some good that comes out of it. In keeping up with the reference, is Stardust Crusaders entertaining and fun?
Yes, 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 yes.
And is there a considerable amount of creativity behind it?
Yes, 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 yes.
And is it because of this creativity and entertainment value that you can kind of excuse the lack of depth?
Yes, 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 yes.
And, at the end of the day, is it a show that I still highly recommend? Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh.
While there's not much depth to the story itself, the lure of Stardust Crusaders, heck, the franchise as a whole, is how over-the-top, action-packed, and yes, bizarre it gets from beginning to end. The fun of the series is the fight scenes between Jotaro and company and the enemy stand users they come face to face with. It's always a blast to watch Star Platinum punch things and go, "Order, order, order," because it's done in such an entertaining way. Plus, you remember those moments because of how often they occur and how strange they get. There's a reason why the show gets constantly memed. Even simple things like eating a cherry get turned into fascinating moments that you're not sure what to make out of, but are still entertained.
On top of that, you can find a good bit of references to American rock bands, high-end fashion lines, and just art in general.
It's well known that Hirohiko Araki, the creator of the manga, had a love for American rock, traveling, and a fascination with art and fashion. And a lot of that went into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In fact, if you ever wondered why JoJo characters have strange names, unique tastes in fashion, and always pose, it comes from this love and appreciation. It's also why many of the characters share names with famous American rock and pop stars, as well as songs. Though in Stardust Crusaders, it's seen primarily with the villains. For instance, Dio is actually named after the heavy metal band of the same name. You have other villains too with names like ZZ Tops, Centerfold, Steely Dan, Daniel and Terrence T. Darby, and Vanilla Ice and his stand, which has the unique exception of not being named after a tarot card or Egyptian god, called Cream.
Wait. What's this guy's name again?
And Vanilla Ice and his stand, Cream.
So let me get this straight. This guy's name is Vanilla Ice, and his stand's name is Cream. Vanilla Ice and Cream?
Aside, half of the fun of this arc is getting to hear all of the names of the villains.
And while we're still on the subject of villains, one of the neatest aspects of the show that I really enjoyed was the stands and the stand users themselves.
A lot of the fun and creativity of the show not only comes from the fight scenes, but also from the villains themselves. Not only do they have fun names, but their stands range from equally cool to just out there. One of my personal favorite stand users is named Forever, an orangutan whose stand strength takes the form of a giant cargo ship.
Jojo.
They don't call this series Bizarre Adventure for nothing, though I can't talk about Forever without bringing up another furry stand user who ends up joining Jotaro and the gang in the second half of the arc. I'm of course referring to the spunky, farting, coffee-flavored bubblegum chewing Boston Terrier, Iggy. Oh, and then there's a falcon stand user that can shoot ice shards from its mouth.
Again, Jojo.
Many of the stand users are like this, with a caliber of strange and awesome that varies from villain to villain. And it's this combination of fun, over-the-top battles, and creative villains and stands that makes this show one of the unique exceptions where you can excuse the lack of depth.
It's almost like the world's easiest and longest Easter egg hunt, and I mean that in the best way possible. The eggs themselves are not that difficult to find, but they're everywhere, and each one of them has a unique prize.
Plus, what's also really nice about the show is that you could watch Stardust Crusaders and know exactly what's going on without having to watch the previous season, which, by the way, contains both Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency. Though, if you wanted to get a better understanding of Dio and Joseph Joestar's past, especially considering they make a nice callback to Hamon quite a few times, I still recommend watching Season 1 before you watch Stardust Crusaders.
Oh, and fair warning, this show is very much an adult show. In that it has the gross-out humor of a 15-year-old still going through puberty.
I was kind of surprised that a lot of the adult content in this show came from the jokes, innuendos, and just gross-out humor in general. Some of the jokes work, like one hilarious moment with Joseph and Avdol involved in what looks like some man-on-man action in broad daylight. And then there's moments where Avdol and Polnareff pee in a man's breathing tube. Oh, and there's poop. There's dry desert poop, kids pooping and kicking it in adults' faces, baby poop, and babies eating poop?
No. You can't pin that on Jojo. That's just nasty.
Yeah, the humor in this can get pretty cringy and gross at times. And it's ironic, too, that the show censors Jotaro smoking on several occasions, but they won't censor poop or a little boy's penis. Yeah, that's pretty backwards. So, if you give this show a watch, please know you have been warned.
What can I say? It's JoJo. The plot and premise are about as shallow and outdated as you can get, but the fight scenes, the villains, and just all the Easter eggs you can find will keep you entertained and watching till the very end. Definitely a watch. Wraps up today's review. As always, thank you so much for watching, and be sure to stick around for July when I roll out some brand new reviews. Till next time,